When anybody hears the word lawyer, the first thing that comes to mind is courts, conflicts, problems in general. And in order for us to explain and unlock these words, we invite today Mohamed Ibrahim, Head of Disputes of IMP. Good morning, Mohamed, and thank you for coming.
Ahmed, thank you very much for having me in the famous Monday Legal.
Thank you.
I was very excited to come here.
It's our pleasure. First of all, and I repeat this question, hoping that one day we will get a sponsor for coffee. What's your coffee? Well, how do you start your day?
Well, I usually have breakfast first.
Okay.
I'm a very morning person, so I like to have breakfast, and then I usually drink coffee with milk. I don't like Americano and espressos. It's very hard for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's like French coffee.
French coffee, yeah.
Yes.
So
nice.
any type of coffee of milk is one of my favorites.
Very good. I would like that you tell us a little bit about your start in the legal field. How did you become a lawyer, and why, and where did you start? And tell us a little bit about your legal journey.
Well, I had quite of a long run, to be honest. So I started back in Egypt in 2009 when I graduated. I worked for almost a couple of months at Baker McKenzie, Egypt. And then I moved to Shalakani law firm. Shalakani in Egypt is like the Tamimi in here, basically, yes. If not bigger and older in terms of a number of years. I stayed in Egypt almost for 5 years before the Egyptian revolution. And then when I decided to move to the UAE, I had an offer from Al Tamimi and Partners here in Dubai. I was attending I can remember this quite well. I was attending the IBA in Dubai in 2011 when I met one of their deputy managing partner, and we got into a debate regarding enforcement of arbitral awards. And then 2 weeks after I came back from the seminar to Egypt, I found his email inviting me back to Dubai and with an offer letter to join the firm. So I came in Dubai, if I remember correctly, 2013 to Al Tamimi. Disputes. I've always been a dispute lawyer. To be very honest, I didn't like...
Well, you got your first job in the UAE after an argument, so I understand.
Yeah, so I've always liked the dispute world. I tried the corporate world, corporate commercial, for like 6 months of my career, but I didn't... it's not my cup of tea. I didn't fit in. With all due respect to corporate lawyers, of course.
None taken.
Nothing personal, but I find myself more in litigation, in arguments, in disputes, in general. So I joined Al Tamimi for almost 3 years, again in the litigation team. I did during my period with Al Tamimi, I was a kind of a joker. So I used to jump in between departments. So I worked in litigation, I worked in financial crimes, I worked some time with the arbitration team as well. So I kept jumping ship internally, and it was a very, very good opportunity for me because you know how big is Al Tamimi in here, and
of course.
It's like a kitchen. So it's very good stop for you when you come to the UAE is to enter this kitchen, to see this kind of diversity of these cases, get this exposure to different kind of disputes, different kind of clients, different kind of peers as well, laws. You know, the legal community in the UAE is developing very fast. So it was a very, very good opportunity for me. Then I moved to DLA Piper for another almost 3 years as well. I stayed there. They call it the Lit and Arb department, litigation and arbitration. It's a mix of both. Everyone do both, and being bilingual, fully bilingual in this country, I think it's a blessing. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. You know,
you get to handle more work.
Exactly. So you get to handle more work. You get exposed to more questions, clients. Because you know Arabic by heart, it's your mother tongue, and you know English drafting and writing. So it's easier for you, for a lot of people, to come like one-stop shop to your desk, ask for some stuff, what does this say, how do we handle this, can you talk to that, can you go do this meeting with this person, with this court, with this authority. It's easier when you're talking the native language of the country, of course. So it was quite an experience for me. It was my first international firm as well. So the culture shock between coming from
local firms into international firms. Yeah.
Not only local firms, so local Egyptian firm to local Emirati firm, and then to an international giant like DLA. It was quite an experience for me, and I have to say, at some point of time, it was a culture shock. So thank God I handled it quite well. My direct line manager at that time as well, who was the managing partner of DLA, he was a very, very good mentor. He helped me a lot to go through this transition between local firms and the local world and international firms, international clients, how to handle clients, marketing, how to be part of the marketing legal team while you're still performing your daily duties as a lawyer. Different kind of disputes, cross-border litigation, cross-border arbitration, a lot of elements involved in one case, working with a bigger team, a lot of peers. It's a whole different kind of metaverse.
Yes, I agree.
So it wasn't easy. Then that's why I'm telling you, I had a quite good run. Again, I moved to Eversheds. They wanted to establish this local litigation team with bilingual counsels and at the same time with an international or a British flavor. So I had an experience in this department being established by DLA as one of the first international firms in the UAE. So they wanted to acquire this internal experience, again, from inside the kitchen. Yeah. How did we do this? How do we manage clients in these situations? How we establish this department? At the same time, how do we make like an exclusive collaboration with Emirati Council, or where we have an advocacy license to appear before the courts? So I moved in there to establish this department. It was quite a good experience for me as well. I stayed in Eversheds for 2 years where we did this project. And then I moved with IMP, where I am now, as a partner and head of disputes in the disputes department. We do a lot of mix of litigation and arbitration. I've always been, as I told you, a joker within the disputes field. So I'm not I don't have like a niche where I only do this kind of disputes. You know, maybe a lot of colleagues actually in the disputes area, they tell you I'm a banking dispute lawyer.
Right.
I'm a construction. Yeah. I'm employment. I'm an IP disputes.
Right.
I would say that I'm a generalist. I feel this is a blessing as well because
absolutely,
you know something about everything. Not actually everything, but at least the main sectors when it comes to disputes. So I've did a lot of construction disputes, being here in the UAE for 11 years, real estate, rental, employment, banking, civil and commercial partnership disputes, of course. It's full of partnership disputes, the UAE.
Yes.
So mix and match, you can say. So
nice. One of the things you mentioned that you handle type of disputes and conflicts between landlords and tenants. This is one of the most common conflicts that happen here in the UAE, and you have experience in that.
Yes.
Can you tell us an example of a case that you handled and where it's very common to happen as a conflict?
When it comes to rental disputes, it's one of the major, if not one of the most important sectors in the legal field in here, because you have the whole real estate is based on rent, whether it's commercial or residential or civil, what we call it a civil rent.
Yeah.
And for most of the people who doesn't know, there is no separate laws that govern the commercial rent and a separate law that govern the residential rent.
Yes.
Which is good and bad, you know, at the same time. So if I remember correctly, one of the recent cases that we have been working on, and actually we wrote an article about this and we published it, is due to the rise in the rent in the last maybe 12 to 18 months in the UAE, you find a lot of disputes between landlord and tenant due to the increase of rent. Of course, the landlord, seeing the market is booming, so they want to increase the rent, and they have their tenants who are inside their property. They are renewing based on maximum of 5-10% increase per year.
Yes.
Which is not the actual increase in the UAE. Okay, so the actual statistics, it says 19 to 24%, while it's actually reached to 70 and 75%.
Exactly, yes. Can you tell us a little bit about this? What's applicable? What's the maximum that the landlords can increase? And what's the criteria for such increase? Just to make it clear for the audience.
Well, to be very clear with you, the normal in Dubai, of course, everyone tells you, go to the RERA calculator.
Yes.
And the RERA calculator, at some times, to be very honest, it wasn't fair to the landlords, and it wasn't fair as well to the tenants. This is the dilemma. But and as an information that's public now for everyone, the RERA calculator have been amended to reflect some kind of actual increase or practical in the market to this RERA calculator. So now when you go into RERA calculator, it gives you to some extent an accurate percentage of how much your villa or your property or your apartment at this area, at this building should be evaluated in terms of rent. But the issue is that happens in dispute between landlords and tenants is that the tenant, they go and they don't use the landlords, they don't use the RERA calculator. Either they ask for a figure, okay, because most of them are greedy, of course, or they go and apply for a certificate of an example, they call it, okay? This example where they come and tell you, oh, I asked for this certificate from the Dubai Land Department, by the way, and they are saying that my villa in this area, it's rented for 200K. Well, okay, the Dubai Land Department is telling you this information, and it's true, by the way, but this is for a new tenant, not for an existing tenant. If there is an existing tenant renting for 110, of course he will not jump from 110 to 200K. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Okay, so they use this certificate in a way to try to persuade the tenant, if he doesn't know his legal rights,
right,
that the villa you're renting, it's worth 200 and you're paying 110. No, it doesn't work like this. It works where you have to have actual scenario, you have to have real comparison, like what they say, compare apple to apple. So maybe the villa that the same community that worth 200K is upgraded villa, for example, have a different view. So this certificate does not take all these factors into consideration. So they use it wrong. So whenever this kind of disputes escalate and reach to court, and you have a lawyer that understands this complexities, they explain this to the judge. Then the situation now changed from in favor of the landlord to in favor of the tenant. So instead of increasing from 110 to 190, they increase like maybe 120, 125, the logical normal increase that the RERA calculator will evaluate from the beginning. It should.
Exactly. And what my view on this is exactly as you said, the situation where evaluator or the land department with real estate regulatory agency evaluate the rental in this area. They are just giving an example, as you said, but that's not applicable to rental increase, which is regulated by a specific percentages when the market goes up to here and so on. And based on that, they are doing the calculator and they are updating it from time to time. So renewal is regulated by the calculator and the index, but rental valuation as the certificate of example is for the properties that are vacant.
Exactly.
You have seen a lot of these cases.
A lot of these cases. But recently we have seen a different type of cases as well. The landlord stopped asking for an increase because they know they're not going to get it.
Get the numbers here.
They're not logical, okay? They're not reasonable, okay? There's no sense about asking for an increase of 70% all of a sudden. Doesn't make any sense, okay? And even if I can pay it, I will not pay it, okay? Exactly. I'll just move out.
Yeah.
They don't even ask for an increase. They just sent you notice of eviction. They use one of the reasons,
the 12-month
one
notice.
of the exclusive reasons in the law, and they say, We want to sell the apartment. We want to sell the villa. We want to use it for a personal use. Whatever one of the 6 or 7 reasons, they list it and they send it. The most common one is personal use or selling the villa. Okay? The issue in this is that if the landlord is bluffing and the tenant actually call his bluff and then he discovers, he will get compensated for this, the tenant. So the article that I was telling you about that we won this case up to the final judgment is that, and that's one of my neighbors, by the way.
Nice. Okay.
That's the irony about it. So
okay.
What happened is that he served him a notice and he said, I'm selling the villa. Okay. So the guy tried to increase the rent with him and he actually offered him up to 40% increase, the tenant. And the landlord didn't accept. And he insisted that he's selling the villa and you have to evict the villa within 12 months. By the time the 12 months lapsed, the guy moved out, but he moved out in the same community, like 2 streets after this villa. And after he moved out, 2 months later, he found out a moving in truck in the same villa that he was renting, putting in the furniture. So he went to the security guys, he investigated about it, and he discovered that the landlord actually didn't sell the villa. He rented the villa to a new tenant based on the new price.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So based on the new price, he increased the villa around 70 or 80%.
All right.
In price. Okay. Yeah. So he came to me and he said, "This is what happened, and this guy screwed me. What can I do? What's my legal rights?" And the first thing that came with my mind, of course, that if we can prove this, we will get you compensation. The law is very clear. Okay. The reasons for eviction, it wasn't the real reason. It didn't happen. So the reason for eviction is invalid. Went to court, we take him to court, and we made him pay almost 1.5 years of rent of this tenant of compensation. So he paid everything. He paid compensation for eviction. He paid compensation for the rent difference between this villa and the new villa my client had to rent based on the new prices. He paid the difference. Extra furniture, curtains and stuff in the new villa that he had to go to.
And the moving in,
the moving in, the permits, everything he paid for.
Oh, that's great.
That's why I advise everyone to keep receipts and invoices when you're moving out.
Yes.
Because if this happens, you can go back,
you can claim
you can redeem all your damages.
You know, one of the things that I always wonder, because I see it happening in this market, such disputes happen because of the market and the landlords getting wrongly advised by real estate brokers.
Let's say one of the reasons is that they are not very well educated about the market when it comes to rental laws. They don't know the precedents when it comes to
courts,
actual courts.
And what's happening.
Okay. Let's say it's good for us. So
yes,
we get more cases.
Absolutely. I wouldn't mind, of course. Keep them coming.
That's one of the reasons. But the main reason is that they don't keep track of what's happening in the market when it comes to actual life situation. When this happen, what will happen? When this happen, what the court will say? When this dispute arise, what the end of this, how people in this kind of situation they settle. And to be true, this is more of a lawyer job. This is not their job. At the time of the transaction itself, all what they care about is that to close this transaction, whether about sale, whether about rent,
the most profit
to get
possible.
Their commission, to get their salaries, to get people in, people out, to do the job on a daily basis. So it's more of a lawyer job, but it will definitely add to them if they educate themselves, if they update themselves, if they ask for trainings. Maybe the DLD will ask for specialized lawyers to come and do these trainings rather than just other ex-real estate brokers coming in, delivering a training for 45 minutes for another one who's having the license. They don't go into these intricacies of these legal cases and these different type of situations. So they give their clients the wrong advice, and sometimes it's genuine wrong advice.
Is there any way to hold the real estate brokers or the brokerage firms liable to wrong advice? Because in many occasions, I see even written advices by email or by letters coming out of real estate agencies or brokers who are sending in their emails, you can get this done That's the normal. This is okay. Please do this. And it's in writing. So sometimes it surprised me. Can they be liable to such conflicts?
Well, we don't want to intimidate anyone today.
No, I'm just...
But
just
of course,
exploring.
Under the law, anyone can be liable to anything, as long as you can prove what we call a causal link between his action and your damages. He can be liable, whether based on contractual relationship, if there is a contract that ties in these parties. For example, in your example, you're saying that it's written advices, so I guess there is some kind of a sort of underlying agreement between those, or based on tort, of course. So tort liability exists in the UAE and it's very famous. So they need to understand that they are liable because this is a licensed profession, real estate brokers.
Yeah.
And not because no one is suing them that they are not liable. They are liable, and actually they get sued in a lot of real estate disputes rather than rental disputes.
Yes.
Okay, so I handle real estate disputes as well, and we involve real estate brokers, whether he's an individual, whether he's a company, and we involve them in the litigation. Of course, they stand tight and they say we have nothing to do. This is between the seller and the buyer. We're only a real estate broker. This is our rights. We only have a guarantee check. We work as an escrow. They do all of these tricks and they claim whatever they want to claim. But when it comes to legal liability, they do have a legal liability.
So I'm gonna take the same example and bring you back. This landlord who paid, in your example, who paid such a hefty amount, which is 1.5 year of compensation. If he was wrongly advised by the real estate broker, can he go back and sue the real estate broker who gave him the wrong advice?
He can take this judgment, and based on that, he can establish a case against this real estate broker. And by the way, I guess that this guy had the wrong advice, because I just remembered the case was not just about this. We discovered during the case that the landlord submitted the defense. It was a very solid defense, and he said, I actually sold the villa. And he got the new title deed, and we found out that the new title deed is not in his name.
Okay.
However, because of the family name of the new owner, she was a lady, of the new lady, was similar to his family name, we knew that there is a connection. So we asked the judge to inquire from the identity department that issues ID in the UAE, and we discovered that it's the lady, she's his daughter.
So he knew about it, and he...
No, I'm coming. We discovered that she's his daughter, and he didn't sell the villa. He gifted the villa to her to avoid the 4% registration from the DLD. So again, the reason for eviction is invalid, because the reason for eviction is selling the villa and getting a benefit, financial benefit from selling the villa. You didn't do this. You gifted the villa to her. So you could have gifted the villa to your daughter, and me as a tenant, I stay inside the villa. Why did you kick me out? It doesn't make any sense. So to this extent, you see that the landlord, they go not the full way, actually they go
beyond
100 miles more to cover themselves. So to a certain extent, they are taking legal advice before they do this eviction. So someone advised him actually to sell the villa, because you're not actually selling it, to gift the villa to your daughter, to change the name, so it looks like you've sold the villa. But guess what?
Mohamed Ibrahim was on the other side. That's what happened.
We were waiting for him on the other side.
Yes. We had a very interesting discussion about the rental disputes committee and the cases and the conflicts related to landlords and tenants. But I would like that you shed some light on what type of clients and what type of cases you handle as well, and how does the process from the conflict coming into your desk until it goes to court, really, how does that happen?
Well, you know, Dubai is a very metropolitan country, so you see a lot of type of clients, of companies, of businesses, but based on my experience, not all companies actually have this kind of education, or let's say a culture that they easily resort to disputes, especially recently, due to multiple factors. So I've been working in Dubai for almost 11 years now. The time I started is very different than now in terms of companies and individuals taking the decision to litigate or not to litigate, to go to court, to finance their cases, not to finance their cases.
People don't like courts in general. They're afraid of it. This is what you think they are is changing.
And not afraid. I will not say that they are afraid, but always when it comes to a dispute, the clients come to you, and from the time he's meeting you, he's frustrated before even the case starts.
Yes,
that's the issue. So he comes, he sits with you, he thinks that you are a burden to him. So he's coming with an issue, and this issue becomes your issue. It's his issue, becomes your issue. And it's your role to guide him, to take him. I always tell this to my associates. It's like a kindergarten. It's the first day he comes in, he's afraid. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't understand what's happening. He doesn't know how much he will spend, how long it will take, what's the result. It's like a black box for him. So this is the issue that we face as dispute lawyers, is that you have to guide the client, to manage his expectations at every step of the way, okay? But what we have been seeing recently in the past, especially from the time of Corona until today, is that people are more, and companies, they are more reluctant to finance litigation. That's the issue. They try to, as much as they can, and on different level, whether it's a civil case, commercial case, small employment case, big employment case, they try to solve it as much as they can before they reach to the litigation, outside of court.
Yes, I confirm.
And that's where you, as a dispute lawyer, you need to change your mentality as well. So most of the dispute lawyers, and I'm sorry to say this, we're bulldogs, okay? So
let's fight.
We have to fight. It's in our DNA, you know? Yeah. You see the issue, you're happy, okay? You start thinking about solutions. You start thinking of what you will do to your opponent, how you will tackle this, how you will do this, arguments. No, we need to change this kind of mentality. So you can reach to the same solutions, and you can do the same amount of fees and money, but through settlements, through different means.
Totally agree.
So the dynamics of the market itself and how you practice as a dispute lawyer, it needs to change a little bit in a lot of firms and in the mind of a lot of dispute lawyers, especially Egyptians.
Yeah, I see this a lot, and sometimes because again, I'm not a dispute lawyer, I try as much as I can to avoid it, and try as much as I can not to reach the level that the client would have to go to court. And I always think of ways to find settlement. And sometimes, even if there is no way to find the settlement, I try to understand the economics of the case. Yeah. What am I winning in the end?
Yes.
Am I chasing $1 million dirham, but I'm gonna have to spend 900?
Exactly.
If that's the case, then there's no point of filing the case or spending the time or the effort or the energy or the money. And I always look at the economics of it. Would it make sense or not?
Yeah. Actually, to be true with you, based on experience, I retain clients and I keep them with me by being more honest to them and in their best interest rather than the firm's interest, of course, financially. So sometimes actually client is pushing me to go to court, and I'm still giving them hope for settlement. And sometimes they come to you with an end in mind. It's like, we're coming here to fight. There's no room. We tried everything before we come to you. But when I
but the mindset changed when they know the cost.
Exactly. Of course, the mindset. Dubai is not cheap at all when it comes to litigation. Whether and this is something we should shed some light on as well. Whether the court fees, whether the legal fees, whether the whole process fees, when they come to know how much it will cost, they think, oh, I think I'm spending good money over bad money. But in some situation, it's unavoidable. You have to. And sometimes you're the defendant. So it's not up to you. Yeah. Someone already financing the case and you're facing a case. So it has a lot of different scenarios, but all what I'm saying is that the dynamics in the market has changed, and the clients, they are looking for different type of lawyers, that it's more business oriented than only legally focused. You know, the horse tunnel view. This is what we used to adopt in our cases. Now you need to lift up this, and you see the wide angle. You see what's happening here, what's happening here, and you clearly advise your client is that going down this route, it will reach to X, here Y, here Z, and let's choose. It's not a must that you litigate, you know what I mean? I'm not promoting against, of course, litigation. It's my bread and butter, but you have to
It has to make sense.
Exactly, it has to make financially, business-wise, legal-wise. Sometimes people come to me and I tell them, you know what, you have slam dunk case. I'll win this case in 6 months, but you will get nothing out of it. That's it. This is the truth, because the circumstances of the opponent, his financial circumstances, his existence at the company or whatever, it's not there anymore. So I'll get you a judgment. What you will do with this judgment? Nothing.
Yeah.
You will come back and fight with me.
Of course.
So you try to avoid this and try to gain your client.
I have another question for you. Here in the UAE, we have ADGM courts, we have DIFC courts, we have the local courts, whether in a federal or on the local level. We have arbitration centers, we have mediation. Can you tell us, of course, you'd be a little bit biased towards the civil courts because that's where you mainly practice. What is the advantages of having Dubai or Abu Dhabi courts as a civil courts over DIFC or ADGM, in your opinion?
Well, the UAE is a very unique market when it comes to disputes, because as you said, we have at least 4 jurisdictions within the same country.
Yes.
And it's a small country. It's not like a continent. Like
and it's
the
an
US.
optional. Every businessman can actually opt for
it's
one of them.
In the beginning, it wasn't opt-in, opt-out clause.
Yeah.
So the DFC, when it's initially started, it was only limited to the DFC establishments, okay, and the DFC jurisdiction. Now it's like arbitration. It's opt-in, opt-out, okay. ADGM came later on, and it's the same. You have arbitration, whether within Dubai, outside of the Dubai, or within UAE or outside of this, depend on the seat. And then you have the local courts, and you have mediation. It's a pre-litigation or pre-dispute procedures. So it's like a full menu. That's what I say. It's a full menu for everyone. It's only, you don't pick and choose like a menu, like really menu of what you like. No. Of what suits your situation, okay? So we always tell our corporate colleagues who draft contracts is that the dispute resolution clause is not your clause, okay? It's a dispute lawyer clause, because I always consider the dispute lawyers coming from the future. So he have seen this dispute resolution clause before in a construction contract, in an employment contract, in a civil contract, in a partnership dispute. He have seen the court's application to this clause, the arbitration application to this clause.
Yes.
How do they tackle this clause? Okay, how it's managed, how it's being held invalid, valid. So I'll give you an example. Recently, and it's very famous now in the UAE. Okay. Recently, there was some kind of like a precedent where a company in Abu Dhabi getting into contract with company in Ras Al Khaimah, for example, delivery of whatever goods, okay? And they choose the court of jurisdiction as Dubai courts.
3 jurisdictions
for no reason.
Involved.
I don't understand. For no reason.
It was a draft.
It was a draft. It was a template, and the dispute resolution clause, it's always at the end of the contract.
Yes.
We don't need to review it. 2 companies in 2 different jurisdictions or 2 different emirates, and the dispute resolution clause refers to a court that it doesn't exist here or there. Has nothing to do.
Yeah.
The matter got escalated in different cases to the Supreme Court of Cassation, whether in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi. And sometimes in Ras Al Khaimah, because Ras Al Khaimah has its cassation level as well, independently. So there have been conflicted judgments between the three Emirates, and everyone is stepping over the jurisdiction of the other. Okay, so when the matter got escalated that much, it went to the higher Supreme Committee, where it unified the precedents between the Supreme Courts in different areas, and they had to rely to the UAE Constitution, articles of the UAE Constitutions, saying that no one can step on the jurisdiction of the other. So you cannot do this anymore. So that actually sends a very clear message, is that when you're drafting your contract, know your jurisdiction. You cannot just opt, especially when you're referring jurisdiction to local courts. If it's DFC or ADGM of arbitration, I'll tell you, this is an extreme measure of dispute resolution. You can always refer to, regardless of where your company exists, in which jurisdiction, which country. Okay, but when it comes to local court, you have to be aware of these elements. So it's always good to go to a lawyer. That's what people avoid.
Yes.
But that's what you pay later on. So
yeah, it can be very expensive if they don't get the advice on time.
they can't get the rights. So imagine you have your damages, you have the contract is terminated or whatever is happening, and you don't know where to go. It's not like you cannot finance your case, or the damages are not that much, you will let it go, or no. You have everything, but your jurisdiction clause is invalid. It's very, very big problem. People need to take care of these small parts before they get into any contract. Yeah. And that's where we come in. But yeah, sometimes we come in very late.
Yes, and there's not much you can do. One of the new things and the issues that happened in the UAE the last few days, I would like to ask you about. Have you already seen any compensation cases regarding the flooding or the storm that happened a few days ago in the UAE, about the damages and the liabilities of the parties or the insurance? Have you seen any cases already that started, or are you foreseeing some cases to happen in the next few days?
Well, it's too early to tell you. To be true is that there is cases already started, but rumors in the market says that the insurance committee within the central bank, it's facing a lot of complaints against insurance companies, to be honest. So whether they are not picking up, whether they are taking your complaint but they are not proceeding with it, so you don't have any feedback about your complaint, or they just rejecting your complaint for different type of reasons.
Yeah. So it's inevitable. So insurance complaints will start very soon.
It will
a lot.
Start. The question is the reaction of the insurance committee within the central bank, the amount of complaints, would they be able to handle this all of a sudden? It's like, you remember what happened at the beginning of the corona, where they started to say, we want to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
Rather than everything comes in within 2 weeks, we want to make it comes in within 2 months, 3 months.
Bit longer
it will be like this. So you will have a lot of complaints all of a sudden going to the insurance committee, because, as you said, it's inevitable, and as a process, as a legal process, you have to go through the committee before you go to court. You cannot jump this and go to court. Your case will be dismissed.
And this is also a very important part to understand, is that there is a process for starting up such complaints and cases. And
there is always a process. You need to stand in the queue. You need to know the process. You need to do it by heart. Otherwise, you're jeopardizing your case before it starts. And that's the issue. It happens in employment as well. Employment, one of the very, very famous and hot legal topics in here. A lot of people jump the process because they think they don't need a lawyer. Okay, they go to authorities, for example, without mentioning names. They go to free zones. Where do they work? And they get legal advice. Again, wrong legal advice. So they jump the process, and it's too late. By the time they know that they need to restart everything, that's the issue.
Mohamed, one of the most common questions that we get about employment is what happens if an employer offers an employee an offer letter or a job, and the employee accept that offer, make measures, take a holiday, or take their make their notice for resigning, and few days before they get hired, the employer actually withdraw this offer letter.
We've worked on a very interesting case for an employee against a tech company here in the UAE, where they did actually offered him, and based on his offer, he resigned from his position. His notice period was almost 3 months, and by the end of the 3 months, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, I can't remember correctly, before he joins, actually, they retracted the offer, and they said this position is not available anymore within our organization, and they left him up high, dry in the sky, of course. We got in touch with this guy, and we actually filed a case against the company, and we managed to get him compensation of 6 months, which is the legal probation period in the UAE, the maximum probation period of his. And this 6 months, the basis of compensation was his salary offered to him in their offer letter, in this company offer letter, to cover him for 6 months that he kept without a job, looking for a new job. So there is legal repercussions for companies that do this. It's only, as we said, it's the appetite of people, whether they will pursue their rights to ask for this, or some people just think that there's nothing we can do.
Right.
There is always something you can do. You can get compensated for this period. It's just a matter of how you do it, what's the cause of action in your case. You have a good lawyer, he will get you a judgment.
I've seen even more examples the other way around. More examples of employees going for interviews, getting the job offer, signing them, and then after 2-3 weeks they get another offer, so they withdraw and they join another company. Do you think there is a chance, or have you seen any employer filing a case against an employee for...
To be honest, I haven't seen this
Yeah.
in action, let's say.
Yeah.
I haven't even heard about a case that filed with this kind of circumstances. But if you're talking legally speaking, purely legal, if it goes both ways. As long as the company can prove damages as a result of this employee's action and retracting his acceptance for no valid reason, then...
Especially if there's damages in this, like a recruitment cost, or I don't know, missed opportunity to hire someone else at the same caliber, spending more time with an empty seat for a
100%.
critical role, 100%. That all cause damages to the company. So
it does. If they can prove these damages, if they have someone who is, let's say, creative enough like you, challenging all of this, getting more ways to find damages for them, or examples like what you have just said. And it's not only examples, they need to prove it, of course.
Of course.
So it's the damages concept under the UAE civil code. It's very well-known code. As long as you can prove it, you can prove the elements for damages, then definitely they can claim it. But in practice, to be honest, I haven't seen it.
We spoke about taking the opinion of a conflicts lawyer or a disputes lawyer before we draft a contract. Would you advise more, because you worked in both, you worked with arbitration and you worked with litigation. Which one would you prefer, or which one do you like personally more?
I'll be a little bit biased.
You have the right to do that.
In the beginning of my career, I've always preferred arbitration, to be honest. It's the dynamic of the arbitration, it's more, let's say, dispute friendly. You can control the process. Communication, it's more clear, especially with tribunals. You appoint your own co-arbitrator. Of course, that does not mean that he will take your side.
But you appoint someone you can trust.
Exactly, you appoint someone you can trust. You appoint someone who you know for a fact that he has an experience in this field, he has an experience in this type of disputes. he understands the language that you're talking,
Yeah.
especially in technical disputes, like when we say construction, when we say investment banking, medical, whatever, insurance, this type of niche areas, you can control who's sitting and who's taking the decision. So this concept, it's always tested to be easier, clearer, better for counsel, for arbitrators, for clients, for everyone. In addition to that, it's one step. So arbitration is one shot. It's unlike courts where you have to go from first instance to appeal to supreme.
Yeah.
So it was faster, easier, more fees, of course.
Exactly. But this is one of the most important points, because I think clients right now think courts are too efficient, and they're working very well. They're also technology, they're endorsing technology very well, and it's easy to handle court conflicts as close to, as opposed to arbitration, which it costs a lot of money.
It does.
Yeah.
So that's why I've always preferred arbitration. But in the past, let's say 5 years, I've changed my mind a little bit due to these factors, as you said. The litigation in the UAE, it's more now similar to arbitration. It's easier, it's faster. Technology has been amazing right now. It's everywhere. Everything is done via websites, cloud-based system with the court, hearings, minutes of meetings, submissions, uploading, registering cases, receiving court judgments, correspondence with the judges. It's amazing. It reached to a certain extent that it's equal to a very, very reputable arbitral centers. So nowadays I'm more pro litigation. It's cost effective as well.
Yes.
Maybe it's a little bit longer, but arbitration, again, people think because it's one shot, it's faster. No, it takes time, and then you have to go through execution again, which take another time. It's another level. So at the end of the day, they are pretty much similar. It depends on which one you feel.
On a case-by-case basis, and
on a case-by-case basis, type of disputes, etc., etc.
Okay.
But if you compare it to other jurisdiction, I'll definitely go for arbitration.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the legal tech and the revolution in the legal market and the use of technology in general? We see a lot of AI solutions helping lawyers and acting as paralegals and so on. How do you see this changing the legal profession in general? And I will need some advice from you to the young lawyers. What skills they need to get to cope with the new trends in the legal market?
Legal, it's a very niche profession, okay? So there is still liability on you as a lawyer, even if you're using technology. So clients will not leave you alone, okay? So at the end of the day, if they believe that the money they are paying or the fees they are paying and the service they are getting, it's just an AI generated or some kind of a program that you invest in as a lawyer, they won't feel that their level of service is what they are looking for, okay? Because this is something they can do by themselves. So we have to be very careful of how we're using this technology, because we will be replacing ourselves. You know what I mean? So we don't want to. Lawyers should be very careful before using this. We should use it as a type of support. Like, for example, back in the days, lawyers used to draft memos
by hand,
yeah. Right? Like handwritten memos. When they introduced the computer and the Word, not every lawyer was using this, and some people were challenging this.
Yes.
Okay? But at the end of the day, it's a tool that can help you produce the same work. So we have to use technology, AI, this way. So instead, for example, of reading hundreds of pages to get to a conclusion of a couple of paragraphs, we can use AI, and there are programs now that do this, that review documents, check legal issues in the contract with the specific keywords, like find me X, find me Y, where this is drafted, in which clause, you know. It's more of a legwork that we say, rather than giving a contract to an AI program to draft it, or to we have a problem in relation to clause X, please find us a legal solution for this, or what do you recommend based on law number Y, X, Y, and Z. It never works like this.
Yes.
It will never work for the client. It will never work for you as a lawyer, and you're still gonna have to review the AI work.
Yes.
This is basically my point of view about how you use technology and how you use especially AI nowadays. This can work as well for some sectors in law, and it doesn't work for other sectors. So if you ask AI program, a very advanced one, to draft you, let's say, a management agreement, rent agreement, employment agreement, 99 of these stuff, it's online and it has been drafted million of times.
Yes.
So it's easy for the AI to give you one template, two template, 100 templates about this, and you pick and choose. But if you give a case with a bunch of documents that's not organized, not all of them in the same language, without highlighting what are the legal issues, okay? You need to sit with the client. All of this AI will not do it for you. You will not come up with a legal memo drafted with the arguments. This need to be done, this need to be said. What's the strategy? Would you submit these documents now or later? Would you do this? Would you not do this? This, I cannot foresee that this can be done by an AI.
That's brain work. I don't think AI would ever be able to do that.
They can assist.
They can assist with that, but no, they cannot make a decision.
So my advice to young lawyers, don't rely on this, because it will, first of all, it will make you very lazy, okay? So there's no advancement in your career. Two, you might reach to the wrong legal conclusion based on the AI, okay? So you still need to review their work.
Absolutely.
If you're asking for a final product from an AI, which is something I highly recommend not to do. At least nowadays, maybe 10 years from now on, I don't know what will happen, but maybe it will happen. But nowadays, never do this.
Thank you, Mohamed. Thank you very much for coming. This is your dose from Monday Legal. See you next week.